Hi there, meteorologist Ryan Weekman in the WTOL 11 Weather Center for us here, giving you an update on what is going to be a potentially very busy Wednesday with a weather impact alert day ahead for us. We've got the potential for a couple of things for us here. Number one, strong storms. That's going to be later on into the evening. Number two, very heavy rainfall. We're talking about a widespread 1 to 2 inches. I'll show you that coming up in your hour by hour forecast. Not only that, but before those storms arrive, it could turn into an incredibly warm and muggy afternoon. In part, that's kind of what's going to fuel those thunderstorms as well there for us. So the big weather impact for you, there you go, an alert day for Wednesday for that potential. Now, the evening storms is what we're focused on. Doesn't mean that's the only time it's going to rain for us, though, in the forecast. And we've got a very complex setup. Anytime you're going to talk about this sort of a storm system that brings with it the chance for strong to severe weather, you have to talk about the ingredients coming together. And I'm going to show you how everything is going to evolve across the country to lead to these potential storms here in just a second. Let's get you the highlights. Heavy rainfall, again, 1 to 2 inches. That's just what I'm expecting to fall on Wednesday into Wednesday night. Could be more as we head into the weekend as well. The ground is already very saturated, basically can't take any more. And so that's something we need to be aware of. I have upticked this risk for severe weather a little bit over the last 24 hours. Things are coming into better picture for us as we're getting more data in. And I do think this risk for severe weather is higher than what we were looking at on Sunday, just to kind of put it in comparison. If you're thinking, oh, this is going to be another one of those, I think it's going to be a little umped up from that. And again, the timing is later on into the evening after the sun goes down for this risk of strong or severe storms. Got a basement? Got a crawl space? This is my big headline for you then. Check your sump pumps, check your Crocs, make sure everything is okay. If you're asking that and saying, huh? Talk to somebody who does know about sump pumps, because you want that thing running and humming fine over the next probably honestly week or so when we're talking about the downpours that are on the way. Widespread 1 to 2 inches of this rainfall here. You don't want to find out the hard way that something is malfunctioning and it's too late to fix it. Okay, let's get to those ingredients we were mentioning. What is the difference between Sunday's storms and what's on the way for tomorrow night? The biggest one right here, the moisture coming off of the Gulf. Here comes our area of low pressure. So this is where the storm system is going to be later on for tonight. We've got what we call a ripping low-level jet. Those of you that know the basics of how meteorology and weather work, you've heard of the jet stream before, right? That's a couple miles up into the atmosphere, and it directs how storms move and form, right? There's another feature that is so prominent here in the United States. It's called the low-level jet, and I'm showing that with these wind barbs here on the map. This sits about a mile off the ground, and it's oftentimes the biggest indicator of where moisture is going. And in this case, with a strong southerly wind, that's what's going to take us from a cool Tuesday with a lake breeze to an all-out spring feeling day tomorrow by the afternoon. Watch how this evolves for us with that low-level jet pointing straight into northwest Ohio and southeastern Michigan. The moisture levels are going to bump up, and I don't mean just a little bit here. I'm talking about going from, let's keep in mind, tomorrow's the 2nd of April, mid-May to even late May levels of moisture in the atmosphere. You're going to walk outside and it's going to feel muggy at times tomorrow afternoon and evening. And do you ever get that sense sometimes your body tells you it feels like a day where we're going to get storms? You know how you walk outside and you can kind of just tell? It's like it feels like it's going to happen. You're going to feel that tomorrow when you go outside during the afternoon and evening hours. You won't in the morning, but that moisture is going to come streaming in very quickly. We are under the risk for flooding rainfall because of how much moisture is moving in. And again, This is not something we typically get this early in the season. Yes, April is known. April showers bring May flowers. It's known for the rainfall, but checking out how much moisture is moving in is high even for this time of the year. And again, it'd be something we'd expect maybe in the late spring or early summer, not early April. And so we're all highlighted, Northwest Ohio and Southeastern Michigan, for the potential for rainfall that will exceed what the ground can really handle. And that's going to lead to potential, obviously, rivers rising, creeks rising. But I think more importantly, basements and the spaces like that you really don't want water to get into, right? Because our rivers are very mature, and what I mean by that is the vast majority of them can handle a lot of rainwater. It's where we get into trouble is basements, crawl spaces, things like that, especially if you have things stored down there and then you start getting water moving in. Watch our hour-by-hour forecast. Here we go, running that clock, showing that widespread 1 to 2 inches of rain. And I should add, power might be an issue as well. So obviously your sump pump is plugged right into an outlet. So if you lose power, that's going to be a problem. And I'm going to talk about that potential here coming up in just a minute. All right, so let's look at radar. Let's look at what's happening for you here. Again, it's pretty quiet across most of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. We've got kind of two things that are happening right now as we look at our big picture here. And I came over to our weather center because I'm going to do a little bit of illustrating on the map so I can show you kind of how my weather brain is picking apart what's happening here in the eastern United States. Right now, we're centered right here in between two systems. This is all that's left up between Boston and Halifax of that Sunday system. That's the one that obviously brought us the thunderstorms, some severe weather on Sunday night. We're starting to see our next system showing itself. Now, obviously, it's still cold in the upper Midwest. That's where they're dealing with some snowfall. Thankfully, we're not talking about that. But let me take you to the West Coast. And this kind of looks like a mess, right? There's a lot going on here. But right here, just off the coast of Oregon and California, that's where we've really got, so I'm talking about right in here, this is where we've got our next area of low pressure that's coming in. And really, you can tell this thing and how strong that it is when I zoom on in. You almost don't even need to have the locator of where the low is. Can you see that curl in the atmosphere? That's really strong area of low pressure, and it's going to be enhanced as it comes ashore because of one strong thing, and that is a jet stream that is absolutely rolling across the central Pacific Ocean and onto the coast of Southern California and Baja, Mexico. So now we've got the jet stream that's located on here. And why the position of this is so important, let's put that low pressure back on there. Do you notice how this jet stream is just to the south of the area of low pressure? So if you've ever had one of those tops, those little games that kids have, you know, where you wind the string on it and you pull the top and it makes it spin on the tabletop, that's essentially what's going to be happening here. As this low comes down and it's on the northern flank of this jet stream, it's going to start spinning faster and faster and faster, and that's going to make it stronger and stronger, technically deeper and deeper, and we relate that to being stronger. How strong is it? Well, remember, that low pressure is still on the other side of the Rocky Mountains. Let me superimpose not just the jet stream in the central United States, but that low-level jet. I've put it in the green here so you can see that low pressure that's on the other side of the Rockies is already starting to influence the weather in the central plains. It's starting to take that moisture and pull it northward. And we've seen some of the data in the last 12 to 24 hours. It was already showing that we were expecting a good deal of moisture with this system, but this one is maybe even a hint stronger than what first indications were, and that's why my threat for severe weather has slightly increased as well, because this time of the year, often one of the limiting factors for storms going from, yeah, kind of strong to kind of some severe weather to, oh no, this is like a real severe weather threat with this one, is the amount of moisture, because oftentimes these storms don't get enough of it ingested as far north as we are in Ohio and Michigan. A lot of times it gets cut off at the Ohio River, and then storms aren't able to grow or have as much instability to feed on. That's what makes storms bigger and stronger. So by the time this low reaches the Midwest, this is going to be tomorrow, You can see how widespread of an area is under the threat for these severe storms. It goes from Detroit, Chicago through St. Louis, Memphis, basically down towards Dallas. So that's right in the heart of our area. And we're going to see how this might get even more defined over the next 24 hours. But again, severe storms, likely strong winds. And yes, the way that the winds are shaped up in the atmosphere, tornadoes are going to be a possibility. And the reason why is, remember, that strong low-level jet about a mile off the ground, it's going to take winds that are maybe, let's just say about 15 to 20 miles an hour at the surface. And then you take them and that low-level jet's moving at 60 to 70 miles an hour. That causes spinning and turbulent motion in the atmosphere. As those thunderstorms grow, it takes that rolling motion because of the difference in the wind speeds. Sometimes it turns it sideways, it tilts it. Yeah, you can see where rotation starts to happen in thunderstorms. These are the things we're thinking about as meteorologists when we're making the forecast, and why we say, I don't very often make a forecast and say tornadoes are possible, just because it has to be a real possibility. You don't want to throw that word out there unless it really means something. I think isolated tornadoes are a possibility if everything lines up right for tomorrow. Let's get into it. My hour-by-hour forecast here. Put the clock into motion, and what it's going to show for you is relatively quiet skies through the rest of our Tuesday. Not much is happening here, but this is where things will start to change as we go into tomorrow. So I've stopped the clock. This is 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. We've got one area of rainfall here. We are still dry and quiet. Yes, you're going to see some snow and ice up into Michigan, but that's where it's going to stay. We're still dry and quiet. We've got two potential waves of heavy rain tomorrow. First one will arrive around lunchtime. Second one is back here closer towards the Mississippi River. And if you're paying close attention, I've added another feature onto our map. That's down here, down towards St. Louis. In fact, Chris, our director, why don't you bring this map up full screen? I'm going to head back over to the green screen so I can highlight this a little bit easier for us. But do you see down towards St. Louis, we've got a little bit of a yellow shade that's starting to show up on the map down there. That is where I've added instability. It's an ingredient that we look at. Essentially, it's what the storms feed on to make them stronger. So we get a good sense of how that's going to build during the day. Okay. It's enough talking. Let me put the clock into motion. 7 a.m. through around lunchtime. You can see showers, thunderstorms, yes, but I don't expect this to be severe. Essentially, this is the hinge door swinging open to allow the moisture and the instability to build in. So through around lunchtime tomorrow, no, it's not going to be that crazy warm or muggy. And you might say, remember that weather guy, Ryan? He said it was going to be warm and muggy today. Not until the afternoon or evening hours will that move on in. So watch down towards Indianapolis at 11 a.m. Watch as that builds in by 5 p.m. There's the storm energy. This is what we need to take these storms from your everyday just thunderstorms to ones that can potentially build up, be tall enough, and become severe with destructive winds. And again, those isolated tornadoes being possible. Not only that, but the more instability you have, the taller the thunderstorms, the more moisture you put into that cloud, the more it can potentially rain and cause heavier downpours. So this has something that we really pay close attention to. Now, the clock shows these storms may not arrive, that second wave, until very late, 9, 10, 11, midnight for us here. But once they do, they still have instability to feed on, even though they come so late into the evening. And I think they still will pose a very significant threat for us tomorrow night. All right, so heavy rainfall again. Severe risk does look likely in the timing of this one. Let's say after 9 p.m. till about 3 a.m. That's the time period. I know I don't love an overnight severe weather threat either, but that's what we're shaping up to. I mentioned it earlier. Power outages. It will be a very real possibility. And the reason why, obviously, anytime you've got storm gusts over 60 miles an hour, but let's factor in the rain. Do you remember that first wave of rain we saw come through during the morning hours tomorrow? That's something that's going to saturate the already very soaked ground. So those tree roots, those telephone lines, any number of things that are in the ground can become more loose the more wet that the soil is. And so when those strong wind gusts come through, we've seen this before, it's easier for those wind gusts to take down power lines or take down trees and cause them to fall onto power lines. So I'm going to say that the potential for some power outages is pretty high with this one, to go along with the rain and obviously lightning as well. So this is one, I hope that pulled back the curtain a little bit for you and showed you kind of what goes into our line of thinking. That was just a little bit of why we're thinking that tomorrow is a day that does potentially need to be watched. Now, you can have all the ingredients come together. It's like baking a cake. You can have the sugar, you can have the flour, you can have the eggs, you can put them together exactly right. But if the oven's at the wrong temperature, it's not going to cook exactly right. So we can have all the ingredients put together, but these storms need to build and evolve exactly right for their full potential to be realized. It's close enough. We need to be watching this one is what I'm trying to say, all right? Thursday, 70 degrees for our forecast. Beyond that, kind of. Friday, Saturday, we don't need any more rain. We need to watch this potential here. It's not going to be strong or severe, but it's going to be rain that we don't need on top of very, very waterlogged soil out there. So obviously that's going to be something. And next week, okay, we'll take a couple quiet days. Certainly looks that way in our 10-day forecast. So be safe, be smart, of course. Any watches, any warnings, anything like that, we will keep you updated. And you already have that WTOL 11 Plus app on your television. We thank you for watching. And don't forget to get that WTOL 11 weather app as well, as we personally send out updates over there as well. Hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll keep you informed and keep you one step ahead of any storms. Take care.